Hey guys, Will here, and today we'll be looking at the Osmo 4 from DJI. It's a smartphone stabilizer and has a lot of different features that help you be more creative whilst you're taking movies just using your smartphone. So with that being said, let's unbox it. Create magnetic moments. And then inside the box it's got the stabilizer itself, the legs, a USB-C charging cable, a smartphone mount, and a riser plate. So the riser is for smaller smartphones that need to be lifted up a bit when they're sitting in the mount. So it says on the back here, iPhone 7, 8, and Samsung 8 in particular. That's probably along with some other smartphones that are a little bit smaller. I'll leave a compatibility list down in the description below for you guys to check out to see which phones are suitable for this one. So it just unfolds like that. The legs will screw straight into the bottom. And the legs unfold. Now there's a couple of different ways to attach your phone to the stabilizer. You can either use this mount here, which has retractable arms that kind of lock it in place, or there's also a ring mount that will attach directly onto the back of your smartphone. DJI does recommend, if you have a phone case on your phone, not to use the ring mount. So this is what the ring mount looks like. It's quite thin and it's got a sticky back. And then you use this alignment guide to go onto the back of your phone to make sure that it's centered and in the middle. It's important that it's in the middle, otherwise the weight will be uneven and the stabilizer will have a hard time keeping it balanced. So inside this little packet here, you've got stickers to attach to the ring mount that go on the back of your phone, and also some cleaning and drying wipes to clean the back of the glass on your phone if you have a glass back phone. But I won't be using the ring mount in particular. I'll be using this guy here. There's also a bag that comes with this one to keep the gimbal safe and packed away when you're not using it. Inside the bag is a wrist strap to attach to the stabilizer itself. There's a loop at the front here that you can just attach it to, and that's great for when you're shooting handheld and don't have to worry about it falling onto the ground because you've got your wrist strap to catch it. A user guide on how to attach the magnetic ring, safety guide, and a quick start guide. When you're attaching this mount, try and get it right in the middle of where your phone, like that, just to make sure that the weight's evenly distributed when it's attached to the stabilizer. On the side of the smartphone clamp, there's also a small camera and an arrow. You just have to make sure that that's pointing towards the camera on the smartphone before you mount it as well. You can see that dot and like a cutout. That has to line up with the cutout and dot on the mounting. So you just grab your phone, and make sure you don't have your fingers in between the magnets when they come together because they're quite strong. Now we'll turn it on. Once you've got it set up, definitely download the DJI Mimo app. That's what talks to the stabilizer and allows you to use all the features that it has on offer. So once you have that downloaded, connect it to the stabilizer through Bluetooth, so make sure that's turned on. On the side of the stabilizer, there's a digital zoom, so that can control your camera's zoom in and out. There's also a joystick to move left and right, panning, and then up and down. And then you've got a shutter or record button here as well, and an M button for changing the different modes too. So if you click the M button once, that will change from video to photo. When you click it twice, it changes from portrait to landscape. And if you click it 3 times, it puts it into standby mode. There's also a USB-C charging port just on the side of the handle here, and a trigger on the front. It feels quite good in the hand, and it's quite small too. It's kind of it's got a nice shape to it, and it's very lightweight. To lock the phone in place while you're recording, you just hold down the trigger and it holds it in place. If you press the trigger twice, it recenters. When you press it 3 times, it changes from the rear camera to the front or vice versa. When you press the trigger once, it activates tracking. So that means that when you click it once and stand in front of it and start moving around, it will track your movements and the camera will pan, tilt up and down depending on what you're doing in front of the camera. By pressing the trigger once and then holding it down, you activate sport mode, indicated on the screen when you do so, and it makes the movements really fast and responsive. By holding down the M button for 1 beep, it puts it in standby mode. And if you want to turn it completely off, you hold it down for 2 beeps. On the front too, there's also some LED lights, and that will be an indicator for the battery status. It's a super compact setup, weighing in at only 390 grams, and I like how it can fold away and fit into this bag really nicely. It's also very convenient that you can just detach the phone from the gimbal and then reattach it when you need to go, and you don't need to rebalance it at all, which is really handy. The Osmo 4 is currently priced at $149 US and has an impressive 15-hour battery life, running off a 2450 mAh battery. There's a range of smartphones that work very well with this one, and I'll be leaving a compatibility list down in the description below. There's a number of features I really like about the Osmo 4, and first up is story mode. Story mode makes it super easy for you to shoot and edit movies straight off your phone using the Mimo app. So it applies transitions, text callouts, and even music to the videos that you've shot, ready for you to post to Instagram or any other social media platform. Within story mode, there's 5 different categories to help you choose between what style of video that you want to make using the Mimo app, including travel, scenery, life, art, and sports. So there's bound to be something there to help you along when you're making a video that you want to post. Next up is Clone Me, which is a neat way to make a really interesting looking panoramic photo where you set yourself up in 3 different positions. It takes a picture in all 3 and then stitches them together to create a really interesting look. There's also dynamic zoom, which creates the Hitchcock effect, which was famously introduced in the movie Vertigo and is also used in the movie Jaws too. It's definitely an interesting effect, and one that's usually hard to pull off without the proper gear. The software and AI in the Mimo app though does a pretty good job of pulling it off. Using it on a few different subjects, it definitely nailed the effect, and you have the option to either zoom in or zoom out to give you 2 different looking shots. As for taking time lapses, you have the option of 3 different ones. You can do a motion lapse, hyperlapse, or just a regular old time lapse. Here's a couple that I shot to give you an idea of how they turned out. There's also Active Track 3.0, which essentially allows you to film yourself while it tracks you without having to be behind the camera. There's a couple of different ways to activate this. You can use gesture control by putting your hand up in front of the camera, using the peace sign. Otherwise, you can press the trigger once and it will pick you up when you move into frame and start tracking you. This is especially handy if you're using it in like a selfie mode, because you can use the front camera and tracking without having to constantly control where the camera's facing. It'll just track you automatically. Gesture control can also be used when taking photos. When you use the gesture, it will give you a 3-second countdown to get into frame for recording or get into frame for a particular photo. When you're recording and you want to finish, you can use the same gesture and it will signal it's done by flashing the camera flash and also beeping once. If you're zoomed in 3 times or more, gesture control is disabled, so that's just something to keep in mind. I was impressed with the active track and how well it stayed locked onto me no matter what I was doing. Changing your height, moving up and down, or running side to side, or going behind an object and then popping out the other side, it stayed locked on pretty well the whole time. There's 4 different modes to put the stabilizer into to make it behave differently. First up is follow mode, which allows you to trace hand movements on both the pan and tilt axis. There's tilt lock mode, which allows you to trace movement only on the pan axis. FPV mode allows you to trace movement on all three. And lastly, there's spin shot, which allows you to set up this spin move using the stabilizer, but unfortunately it doesn't make a full 360-degree rotation. If it did, I think it'd look much better and kind of add to the fluidity of the video, but other than that, it's probably the most fun mode to use it in. There's also a way to customize the M button so that it brings up a quick menu, which allows you to navigate through all the different video taking styles and follow modes really easily. This is how I had it set up just for usability, but it would definitely be helpful if you're doing a lot of different shots during the day and while you're using this stabilizer. If the stabilizer is acting weird or doing some kind of shaky movement, it's possible that it might be out of balance. There's a way to auto-calibrate the stabilizer itself if you have the smartphone clamp not quite positioned correctly on the phone. You just navigate through the menu and hit auto-calibrate, and it will go through and adjust the parameters of the motor to remove any shakiness. I actually experienced this while I was trying to do a dynamic zoom shot, and after auto-calibrating, it went back to working perfectly within no time. For me, the only negative I experienced whilst using the OM4 was the fact that it didn't rotate a full 360 degrees while setting up a spin shot. Other than that, it didn't perform too well when doing the active tracking in low light situations, but that might be more to do with the smartphone than it is the actual DJI app itself. So, the ultra lightweight setup, 15-hour battery life, super easy to balance, plenty of features such as Hyperlapse, Motionlapse, and active tracking to make better quality videos. And the fact that you can make so many different customizations within the stabilizer app itself to make it suit your individual video style makes this a great tool to really up the quality of your video content. So who is this stabilizer for? Well, pretty much anyone that's trying to make better quality videos using just their smartphone and don't want to venture down the mirrorless camera route, which can be a lot more expensive. And with the gap closing for smartphones, quality, video quality, and traditional big DSLR camera quality, definitely this is a great investment if you're only looking to make videos with just your mobile, or if you're looking for a super lightweight setup whilst traveling to shoot video too. This is a great option for that. So that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Thanks for watching, and make sure to leave it a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more tech videos in the future. See you in the next one.